Welcome back to The Wild Robot Escapes, Chapters 43 to 50. Chapter 43, The Operation. Midnight, and the children were wide awake in their beds. Jay and Jade were waiting with their father to fall asleep. Once he was snoring deeply, they tiptoed past his bedroom and down the stairs and out the back door. They crept across the farm to the cluster of trees, and there was an old barn looming above the undergrowth like a mountain. Its door was open a crack, and a wedge of light spilled outside. The children closed the door behind them, and they walked past wooden railings and stairways and up a ramp to the platform to the back corner of the barn. Lanterns hung from the walls and cast their soft light on the large table. Standing behind the table was the robot. "Hello, children," said Roz. "How do you like your operating room?" "It's a little dark," said Jaya, "but it'll work." Jade pulled his computer from his pocket, and as he brought up the diagram of Roz's body, his face tightened with worry. "We've never done anything like this before." "Just do your best," said Roz, patting him on the back. "That's all I can ask of you." The robot unfastened her tool belt and draped it over the railing, and then she lay flat on the table. It was time to begin. Jaya looked down at Roz. "All set?" Roz looked up at Jaya. "All set." The girl felt under the robot's head, found the button with her fingers, and pressed it. Click! Roz's body relaxed. Her giant whirring slowly stopped. Her eyes faded to black. Jaya took a deep breath, then grasped the robot's head in his hands and twisted until there was a thwip, and it popped off. In a smooth socket, where the head had just been, was another button. Jaya pressed it, and the robot's chest opened up. They peered into the hollow chest cavity, and they saw a tangle of tubes connected to a grid box. These were the robot's electronic organs. "That's the transmitter," said Jade, pointing. The children reached into the robot's chest, carefully removed the box and a tube, and set them on the table. "Well, that was easy," said Jaya, smiling. "Oh, actually, I think this is the transmitter over here," said Jade, and he removed another box. Then Jaya removed another tube. The boy checked his computer and said, I think I might have this backwards," and a bead of sweat rolled down his forehead as he removed another box. "Wait, I think we should start over." Jaya nudged her brother out of the way and started plugging parts back into the robot's chest. "Wait, you're doing it wrong." Jade nudged his sister out of the way and started removing parts again. I don't know about you, reader, but I'm a little confused. So were the children. Pretty soon, Roz's internal parts were all over the table, and nobody knew where anything was supposed to go. "Why did you remove so many boxes?" yelled Jaya. "Why did you remove so many tubes?" yelled Jade. The siblings argued for a while, but then they sat quietly for a while. The children were tired and cranky and afraid that they'd never get Roz working again. Jaya slumped against the table, looked up at the ceiling, and then her eyes drifted to the lanterns dimly glowing above. And then she had an idea. She climbed onto the wooden railing. She grabbed one of the lanterns from its hook, and she climbed back down. When she held the lantern close to Roz's body, Jade noticed that there were different numbers lightly etched onto every part. Now things were starting to make sense. The children quickly removed the correct box and tube, and then they put the robot back together again, and they turned her on. Click! Roz's body tensed. Her quiet whirring slowly started. Her eyes began to glow, but she didn't say a word. "Are you okay?" said Jade. Roz pointed to her mouth. "Can you speak?" said Jaya. Roz shook her head. "She can't speak," cried the boy. "We must have put something back in the wrong place." Click! The children opened up Roz's body and rearranged some of her internal parts and put her back together again. Click! Roz powered up and said, "Children, I can now speak, but I cannot move." Click! Well, after hours of trial and error, with the morning light seeping into the barn, the operation was a success. Children stood up and scanned her internal parts and said, "Children, you did it. You removed my transmitter. Thank you so much for your help." "You're very welcome," said Jaya, yawning. Jade checked his computer. "I can see that your signal is still on a map. Your transmitter is working. So keep it close until you leave the farm." And then he stuffed a little electronic device into the robot's tool belt. "Children, there is a bit of bad news," said Roz in a serious tone. "I know you have been up all night, but I'm afraid it's time for you both to get ready for school." Chapter 44, The Patient Robot. After being trapped on Hilltop Farm for nearly a year, Roz was about to be free to run away any time she liked. But without Brightbill to guide her, she wouldn't make it very far. So the robot patiently waited for spring to come and for her son to return so they could begin their long journey home together. Chapter 45, The Barn Conversations. As winter dragged on, Roz spent more of her time inside with the herd. There were long stretches of quiet. The cows chewed their hay and the robot tapped on the farm computer. The wind gently rattled by the windows, and then someone would start talking. Then someone else would chime in, and the quiet of the barn would gradually be overtaken by conversations like these. "I'm so bored." Tess was staring at the floor. "I can't wait until spring when I can wander through the tall grass and feel the sunlight on my back again. I just hope I don't die of boredom first." Old Annabelle snorted. "You cows are spoiled rotten. Your lives are so easy, and you still find things to complain about." Tess rolled her eyes. Yeah, we should be grateful for what we've got. You've told us before." "Well, you should be grateful for what you got," said Annabelle. "I've lived on other farms, and trust me, you've got nothing to complain about here." Tess couldn't help being curious. She said, "What were those other farms like?" "Oh, I'd rather not discuss them," said Annabelle in a low voice. "You see, I witnessed some terrible things on those farms. It was a blessing when I moved here, but I often think about the animals I left behind, and I hope that they are okay." The old cow sank into thought for a moment. "I know life here isn't perfect," she said at last, "but we have so much to be grateful for. We have our lovely herd, we have this beautiful barn, and we have Roz," said Tess. "And we have Roz," said Annabelle. "Roz listens to us, and she treats us with love and kindness. She makes our lives as comfortable as possible. We certainly will miss her when she's gone." "Roz, why do humans need so much cow's milk?" said Lily as the other calves crowded around her. It was a question they had all been wondering about. "Well, there are billions of humans in the world," explained Roz, "and many of them drink milk and combine it with different ingredients to make different foods." "What kinds of foods?" said another calf. "Butter and cheese and yogurt are all made with milk. Many desserts are also made with milk." "What's a dessert?" said someone else. "A dessert is a sweet food eaten at the end of a meal. Popular desserts include cake and custard and ice cream." Well, this only raised more questions. What is cake? What is custard? What is ice cream? Roz tried her best to explain these foods to the calves, but it wasn't easy. After all, the robot couldn't even perform a simple act of eating. How could it possibly describe the flavors and sensations of tasting delicious desserts? Lily interrupted. "Just tell me this, Roz. When we're older, will our milk be used to make those desserts?" "Yes," said the robot. The calves smiled, and then they trotted away, happy in knowledge that someday they would bring something sweet and delicious into the world. "It's almost spring," said Roz to the herd. "It's almost time for me to run away back to the wilderness. I am sorry that I must leave, but you will all be well cared for when I'm gone, I promise." The cows began mooing from their stalls. "Don't worry about us, Roz. No need to apologize. We understand why you're running away." Lily poked her head through the railings of her stall and said, "I could never run away to the wilderness. I would be too frightened." "I'd love to roam through the wilderness," said Tess. "It sounds so exciting." "Oh, no wilderness for me, thank you very much," said Annabel. "I just want the quiet, cozy life that I have here." "I have plenty to fear in the wilderness," said Roz. "However, I have more to fear here. I can never be my true self around humans, and so I must try to return to my home. I only wish I could do it by myself," she went on, "but I need help. I could never escape from the farm without the children, and I could never find my way home without my son. I feel bad for asking them for so much." "Don't feel bad," said Lily. "Bright Bill and the children want to help you. They do love you. We all do. The farm won't feel the same without you, Roz, but we know you're doing the right thing." The herd all agreed with Lily, and throughout the barn the cows quietly nodded their heads. Chapter 46. The Spring. With each passing day the sun climbed a little higher and the rays grew a little warmer. The last patches of snow melted away and the color returned to the land. The pasture and fields and trees were all turning bright green, and the air slowly filled with the fresh smells of spring. Many of the cows had been steadily growing bigger, and now calving season almost arrived. When the time was right, each cow went out to the pasture so her calf could be born in the soft grass. The robot stood nearby just in case anyone needed her help, but nobody ever did. Even the first-time mothers knew what to do instinctively, and soon newborn calves were frolicking around the farm. Spring was a happy time, an exciting time, and yet Roz was distracted. More and more she found herself looking to the skies, hoping to see Bright Bill and his flock, and she knew that they were on their way.